personality-based.
Yeah, like that dribbling there.
We will take into account.
It just looks great, doesn't it? Guys, welcome back to another video on the Planet Football YouTube channel. Really excited to get into this one today, where we're going to be reacting to Luis Figo. Now, if you've not seen the other videos in this series, then make sure to go ahead and check them out. We've previously reacted to the likes of Gianfranco Zola, JJ Okocha, Zinedine Zidane, R9 Ronaldo. So loads of great reactions for you guys to go ahead and sink your teeth into. But the one we're going for today is Luis Figo. Now, I really don't know all too much about Figo. I know that I think he got, was it a pig's head thrown at him or something like that? But apart from that, I don't really know all too much about him. So without any further ado, let's jump into this one. Here we go then, let's tune into this one and find out just how good Luis Figo actually was.
A young Portuguese kid born in what's known as the south margin of Lisbon in Portugal, still 11 months away from his professional debut at club level, was playing his first game in the green, yellow and red, playing against country rivals.
Okay, yeah, I did know that he was from Portugal as well, yeah.
That team would go all the way to the final, where that same kid would go on to score, leading them to becoming European champions. It was a blazing start for Luis Figo, but believe me when I tell you, it would only shine brighter as time passed. Just 3 months later, that same team finished third in the Under-17 World Cup, and these performances earned him a spot in the Sporting Lisbon squad.
He does look very skillful originally, just from these clips of him as a youngster, doesn't he?
After he and Rui Costa formed a brilliant midfield partnership that would lead Portugal to become Under-20 World Cup winners, that he would become a frequent starter for Sporting as his fellow countryman Rui Costa started for city rivals Benfica. This would be known as Portugal's golden generation, and Figo would be the one to eventually become their leader.
Okay,
Despite Figo exhibiting enormous class and talent during the 4 years he spent at Sporting Lisbon, he would only win one single trophy, as despite being one of the biggest teams in Portugal, Sporting Lisbon always struggled to keep up with Benfica and Porto, who had just won the Champions League in 1987. Regardless, his displays on the pitch would put him in the spotlight of European giants, of which Figo chose Barcelona as his favorite candidate. And just like that, Figo was now partnering up with big names such as Pep Guardiola and Jorge Hagi as Barcelona seek to rebuild their squad.
Okay, yeah, so obviously I knew that he played for Barcelona, but I wasn't sure which way round he did it. I know that he eventually obviously makes the switch, obviously now from Barcelona to Real Madrid, but I wasn't sure which Spanish club he went to first. So yeah, very interested to know the sort of backstory of how this all happened with Figo.
Cup in that first year, the next season, more big names would join, such as Stoichkov, Ronaldo Fenomeno, Laurent Blanc, and fellow countrymen Vitor Bahia and Fernando Couto.
Wow, what a team they had.
This team would win the Copa del Rey and the European Cup that same season, and despite Ronaldo leaving them, they would bounce back immediately with the signing of Rivaldo, Patrick Kluivert, and as a young boy named Javier Hernandez would be promoted to the main squad.
Wow.
Despite all the big names in the team, Luis Figo would be the club's biggest symbol, becoming their captain, despite only being at the club for one season and being Portuguese, which was out of the ordinary for him.
Wow, I was going to say, I mean, right there, that probably paints the picture of why, obviously, Barcelona fans probably feel a certain way towards him, because he was made the club captain with all the sort of other big stars that they had at the club there. Really interesting to learn that.
Linked with their Catalan heritage. Just like that, they would win the Spanish League and validate their title by winning again the following year.
Nice.
Just like that, in 1998, Figo would watch the Catalan people from the balcony of the Palace of Catalan Generalitat.
Oh, what a goal!
As he yelled onto the crowd, the white whip as they must congratulate us, champions of Spain. Their love for Figo was as intense as their hatred for Madrid. Amongst their fight for independence, the Catalan held on to football as a way to express their individuality to the rest of Spain. Figo was the heir to Johan Cruyff's throne. Figo was seen as their footballing head of state, an idol, and just as he led them in the war against Madrid, Figo became a symbol of betrayal and tragedy for the Catalan. In the summer of the year 2000, Figo would sign for Real Madrid in a world record transfer of 62 million euros.
Oh wow! So a lot of money involved back in the day for that one.
About this. Some say Figo was a mercenary, that his hunger for money was more intense than his love for Catalonia. Figo himself told a different story. A story of someone who felt cornered by football bureaucracy as he struggled to distance himself from it. He has said that he did not trust Barcelona's new president at the time, and that led his agent to enter negotiations with other clubs and a man who was only an aspiring president at the time, Florentino Perez. As the story goes, his agent signed a contract with Perez that would only be validated if Perez became Real Madrid's president, which to the agent seemed highly unlikely at the time, but would help to manage negotiations with other clubs. Months later, as Figo enjoyed his summer holiday, he got the news that Perez had been elected. He got on the first flight he could, trying to revert the situation, but it was too late. He was now a Real Madrid player. With his image tarnished, Figo set on to make the best of his situation. And surely he did. In the next 2 years, Figo would win the Spanish league with Real, proving that he was truly the key to Barcelona's success, and becoming a Ballon d'Or winner, after edging over Zinedine Zidane, who would join him at Madrid, and together they would win the Champions League as Figo would be crowned FIFA Player of the Year.
Wow, I mean, that right there just goes to highlight what a sort of player Figo actually was, that he was sort of in those conversations, you know, Ballon d'Or winner for that year as well, you know. Oh, there was Zidane, who if you've not seen the other reaction to on the channel, make sure to go ahead and check that one out. But I mean, yeah, already from obviously what the narrator's saying and the few clips that I'm seeing here and there and things like that, I'm just, you know, sort of coming to terms with what a player he actually was. But
despite how well he did to maintain his form in the middle of this
I mean, I imagine that sort of betrayal as Barcelona fans feel it would have been, yeah, it wouldn't have gone down well at the time.
By Barcelona supporters. No one will ever forget the El Clásico, where supporters came into the stadium with huge banners directing insults at Figo, calling him everything from Judas to pesetero, which roughly translates to money hungry. But none of this compares to when they threw a pig's head at Figo while he prepared to take a corner.
Yeah, that's what I've
This
seen.
moment will never be forgotten.
Wow, there was so much stuff thrown at him there.
Zidane to make his mark on Figo's career, but this time in a negative way, as he scored a penalty which would lead Portugal out of the Euro 2000 semi-finals just 3 minutes before the end of extra time. The 2002 World Cup would be an even bigger stain in the history of Portugal's golden generation, as they dropped out in the group stages after losing against South Korea and the USA.
Wow.
Regardless,
And that was a
Figo
Portugal
had set
team
up
that
himself
really
as one
was
of the
sort of
greatest of all
stacked
time.
at the time,
A
wasn't
winger
it?
of supreme fine touch, he made it seem as if the world was in slow motion. Fullbacks were made to look as if they were stuck to the ground as Figo floated effortlessly through the fences, always managing an inch-perfect cross into the box as if it were his destiny to get the ball where it needed to be.
He looks great on the ball.
Figo was the prince of Portuguese football, the first Galáctico, the main focus of the biggest transfer scandal the world has seen to this day, but he clearly had one goal in mind, continuing his success with Real Madrid, but mainly bringing glory back to his country after the World Cup disaster. The stars seem to have aligned for Figo. Real kept bringing in superstars as they signed Ballon d'Or winners Michael Owen and Ronaldo Fenomeno, as well as David Beckham, to join the already star-studded team comprised of players like, of course, Figo, Zinedine Zidane, Roberto Carlos and Raul Gonzalez.
Yeah, Real Madrid, it's just sort of a conveyor belt, especially at this time it seemed, for just Galacticos to be constantly coming in. You know, your place seemingly was always at risk, even for a player like Figo, which is mental.
On paper. They were the most mediatic team of all time, a joy to watch, but not much success would be found. Over the last 3 seasons Figo spent there, they would only win the league once again, as well as another Copa del Rey and an European Super Cup.
Wow.
A similar situation was found in the Portuguese national team, as the team was stacked with star players. Pauleta, who would become the all-time leading goal scorer for Portugal. Rui Costa, who played for AC Milan and had just teared the Serie A apart due to his partnership with Batistuta at Fiorentina. Deco, who was about to finish second in a Ballon d'Or, as well as a bunch of players who would win the Champions League that same year with Porto, such as Costinha, Ricardo Carvalho, Maniche, Paulo Ferreira, among others. And of course, it has to be mentioned, an 18-year-old wonder kid who had just left Sporting for Manchester United.
Yeah, of course.
Soon have one of these videos focusing on him. 5-time Ballon d'Or winner Cristiano Ronaldo. The Portuguese future looked bright, and it would only look more promising as the Euros would be played in Portugal that year.
Yeah, now he's listed off all those names. I didn't actually realise just how good this Portugal team on paper was back in the day for this sort of tournament.
Despite the first game loss against Greece, which looks now almost like foreshadowing, Portugal would stomp on every team who dared to face them as they got to the final against Greece. Remember when I said the 2002 World Cup was a stain on the Golden Generation's legacy? Well, Greece would win the Euro 2004 final. Portugal was defeated in their first ever Euro final, playing in their home turf. That might be the biggest upset in European football.
Yeah, without a doubt. Wow. Yeah, I never considered that Figo would be playing in that game.
Even a young Cristiano Ronaldo had to be calmed down, as he was seen asking God for help during the match, and as he broke down crying after the final whistle. As we reach the end of this look into Figo's legacy, I would like to introduce the last element of this video series. In each one of these I would like to rate the players' careers, taking into account a wide range of parameters in a scale of 1 to 10, that depend on the player's position, and where 1 means average for a world-class player, and 10 should only be given to the greatest ever players at that given attribute. So for a winger like Figo, we would take into account finishing, where Figo would get a 5, as he never scored more than 14 goals in a season. Despite this,
Oh, wow.
when given the chance, he was capable of scoring from long range and even scoring set pieces.
I suppose, to be fair, when we're like, Figo obviously played as a winger, but as like a traditional winger, like these days that term gets sort of like thrown around for players who play as like wide forwards and things like that, and when we're sort of judging their numbers based on wingers in the past, it's a little bit of an unfair comparison really. So I mean, I was shocked when he said he hadn't scored more than 14 in the league season, but because he's playing as that sort of like conventional winger, which I'm assuming he played the majority of his career as, that probably won't come as much of a surprise, because I'm guessing his assists would have been right up there.
Get a 10. As he is the second highest assist provider in La Liga, only behind Lionel Messi.
Okay, yeah, so right as I was saying that makes sense, yeah.
For dribbling, he will get a 9, as despite being an amazing dribbler, I still feel like he did not reach the technical prowess of, for example, Lionel Messi.
Oh yeah, and that's, yeah, more than fair. Like, Messi's like the bar that probably no footballer's going to reach in that aspect, but his dribbling was one thing that really surprised me in this video here today, and just how good he actually looked on the ball and things like that, because I didn't know just how sort of technical he would be. I thought he'd have a good like delivery from a set piece and a cross and things like that, but now he looked really good on the ball from all the clips that I saw, so that makes sense.
Speed and physicality, he will get a 7, as despite not being very tall or fast, he was a true warrior, never letting go of the ball, a true old school winger. For the 5th element, we will take into account mentality, which is an attribute in which Figo clearly excelled, as he kept his form despite all the pressure that was put on his shoulders during all the controversy. For this, he gets a 9.
That makes sense.
Now, we will take into account a more character and personality based.
Yeah, like that dribbling there.
We will take into account
it just looks great,
Figo
doesn't
gets
it?
an 8 on this subject, as he won the league for each of his 3 main clubs and was consistently helping teams reach the top. Another factor to be taken into account is flair. Some players are just fun to watch. Most great players are, but some players like Ronaldinho or Neymar just take it to a whole new level. Figo wasn't the type to use crazy skills in his time, but he had another kind of flair. He was graceful.
Yeah, he does look very graceful.
And that will be taken into account. Just that will earn him a 7 out of 10.
Looks really good off both feet as well, which is another thing that I'm picking up on these clips.
Players like Ibrahimovic are iconic, but haven't won many major trophies. Figo never won a senior international trophy with Portugal, and only managed 1 Champions League, but he did get league titles with 2
To be fair, he does find himself popping up in a lot of sort of central positions, is what I'm noticing from a lot of the goals he's scoring as well.
Which Figo certainly had, playing at the highest level for 20 years, and for this, he will get an 8. Lastly...
Wow, yeah, that's something that I definitely didn't know about Figo, that just how long he actually played at the top 4, but really impressive there.
Factor. This is hard to describe, but some players just lack it. They seem to end up forgotten no matter how amazing they were, and sadly, Figo is close to being one of those players. His legacy seems to have been sort of forgotten in the new generations. We remember all the Galacticos. Ronaldo for his goals, Beckham for his bigger-than-life personality, Roberto Carlos for his power, Zidane for his presence on the pitch, but Figo seems to have faded substantially, despite how amazing he truly was. For this, he can only get a 4. Perhaps the drama surrounding his transfer overshadowed his career. Instead of being remembered as the man with the golden crosses, he is seen as the guy who betrayed a whole city.
Yeah, and that's the perfect place to end it there really, because that was exactly sort of my perception coming into this video, and I think that it probably is one of those scenarios where that transfer and that whole saga at the time and everything that sort of followed it has ended up probably overshadowing, you know, his actual footballing legacy, and, you know, picking up on some of these clips and some of the stuff that he achieved in the game, probably a little bit harshly so, to be honest with you, because he was clearly a phenomenal talent, wasn't he? There we have it though, guys. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Very much enjoyed reacting to this one and learning a little bit of the backstory behind Luis Figo, how that move from Barcelona to Real Madrid sort of went down and what he actually went on to achieve in the game. Really enjoyed seeing some of the clips and just how good on the ball he actually looked, and he is probably one of those players of the sort of modern generation that just gets a little bit brushed over because of some of those other players in that sort of Galactico era. So no, very happy that I went ahead and did this one today. But as always, if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular content. Apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.